Today our topic is faith, hope, and charity. According to St. Paul in his letters to the Corinthians, these are the three things necessary for God realization, or you will attain these three characteristics with God realization. And I'm going to read just a little from the King James Bible where he discusses faith, hope, and charity. Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, and have not charity, I am become as sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy, and understand all mysteries, and all knowledge, and though I have all faith, so that I could move mountains and not have charity, I am nothing. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, and have not charity, it profits me nothing. Charity never fails, but whether there be prophecies, they shall fail. Where there be tongues, they shall cease. Where there be knowledge, it shall vanish away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when that which is perfect is come, then that which is in part shall be done away with. And now stays faith, hope, charity. These three, but the greatest of these is charity. So we will discuss first what faith is. Many of us think we express our faith, I believe in this. However, according to Swami Ramakrishnananda, few of us believe in God at all times. As long as we have $2 or $3 in our pocket, we think we can depend on ourselves. As soon as we're down to our last penny, and we don't know where the next one's coming from, we might begin to trust in God. How many of us have often felt that, everything's going okay, I can do this, I can take care of this. Sure, we pray to God, please help me, please help this happen. But do we have that faith that says, I know God will take care of me? That's what true faith is, where we have to get. To have faith in God, to know without a doubt you are taken care of. Faith is not the belief that God will do what you want. It's the belief that God will do what's right for you. Now, this was an Italian man who said this. As I have told you many times before, I save quotes from things I read all the time. I can't remember the man's name. Okay. But oftentimes we do petitionary prayers, believing that if we pray hard enough for something to happen or to attain something, that's showing faith in God. Now, we often lose faith if what we have prayed for doesn't happen. This is not what St. Paul thought of as faith or what Ramakrishna thought of as faith. Faith is believing, though everything, I would say more like the faith of Job, though I really don't like that book of the Bible. It's not one of my favorites. But to maintain your faith through all adversity, knowing that what is happening is good for you. A modern-day spiritual thinker says, puts it another way. Life is simple. Everything happens for you, not to you. Everything happens at exactly the right moment, neither too soon nor too late. You don't have to like it. It's just easier if you do. and accept it. That was Byron Katie, who I think is going to be speaking in Santa Barbara. But that's the truth. How often do we rail against things that happen? How often do we, life is not fair. Life is doing this to me. Life should present me with the opportunities to be happy, to be successful, to have money, to have family. Life owes me that. And Mark Twain said it a better way. Life doesn't owe you anything. It was here first. So, when we go on this thing that it's not fair, life is not fair. We have each come in with our own karma. And we're dealing with life from the perspective of our own karma. We're learning the lessons that we need to learn. With a certain amount of humility. We can't be taking charge at every second. Someone once gave a friend of mine who is a very much take charge person. I can't remember who said it, but I know you'll recognize it. This is God speaking. I'm taking care of today and I don't need your help. It was a poster to put on the wall. And humility doesn't mean belittling yourself or thinking less of yourself. It means thinking of yourself less. Giving honor to everyone else, not thinking of yourself first. Some of the most, in one way, Swami Swahananda was one of the most humble men. He was one of the most senior monks in the order, and yet he never really put himself forward when he was in gatherings with other spiritual teachers. He never put himself forward. He was just there being him. Now that was true humility to me, because he was what he was, he knew who he was, and he didn't have to tell everyone who he was. He just was there. So, how do we attain that faith? Well, by practicing it. At some point in your life, which I think everyone here has done, you have to decide that you believe in something. Whether you can prove it exists or not doesn't matter. Do I believe it? And then you practice that faith until you realize, yes, it does exist. Yes, God does exist. And you experience that. Then you have real faith. Up until then, it's blind faith to begin with, working faith in the interim. And we all have doubts until we have realization. Everyone has doubts. You get in those anxious periods like, is it going to work out? Is this job going to work out? And if you're are they going to keep me on? Is the company going to downsize? I mean, everyone has, is God really going to take care of me? Am I going to be able to do this for my children? Everyone has doubts. To maintain and practice faith even when you have doubt is the way to achieve realization and have real faith. Now, that's where I think hope comes in. What is hope? Helen Keller said, optimism is the faith that leads to achievement. Nothing can be done without hope and confidence. Now that woman had a lot to deal with, and she still had the hope that she could communicate. She couldn't see, she couldn't hear, but she learned how to speak and how to communicate through hope, confidence. Hope is what gives you the impetus to go forward. So now we can kind of see where St. Paul is. We have to have faith, hope. Otherwise, we'll just sit down and wait. And what does that do? Usually nothing. You have to hope that things will get better and work at it. Think of ways that you can continue your praying, continue your practice, continue your duties with the hope and faith that you will achieve your goal. Meister Eckhart was another one. He said, if the only prayer that you say is thank you, that's enough. That would be enough to show gratitude for everything that happens to you every day, everything that you are given, everything that happens. I've got another one I was listening to. Did any of you see Ken Burns' country music? Well, I watched the whole thing, and Dolly Parton came out with one. The way I see it, if you want a rainbow, you got to put up with the rain. So, if you want the best, it's not going to happen all the time. You will have setbacks, you will have disappointments, but you keep going in the hope and faith that you will achieve your goal. Now, where does charity come in? Let's go back to St. Paul, and he said, if I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and if I give my body to be burned, and have not charity, it profits me nothing. I think we can translate from the Aramaic charity. I think another one is love. Love is the greatest gift of all. Love is what we have. Charity is not giving things if you don't have love in your heart. Anne Frank, who we all know what happened to her, she said, you never become poor by giving. And it's very, very easy to do things for our own family and our own loved ones. But as it said in the Bible, and in every scripture, to give to the stranger whom you have no of your own substance. They're not talking necessarily money. Time, compassion is the true charity. Einstein, and I went through all my quotes on charity, right? Einstein said, more and more I come to value charity and love of one's fellow being above everything else. All our lauded technological progress, our very civilization, is like the axe in the hand of the pathological criminal. When you stop and think about that, you can kind of understand. He saw all of our technology, all of our devices, do nothing but separate us from humanity. We think we're being more connected. I remember when Facebook first came out and someone who didn't get along with anyone that they lived with said, I have so many friends now. And they were on Facebook, right? And we said, well, how about just talking to the people you live with? That might make more of a change in your life. The devices and all of the technological improvements that we have put a barrier between us and our fellow human being. We don't have face-to-face conversations. if you're like me, I was never going to get a smartphone. And now I find texting much easier than calling. And I have to stop myself and say, don't do it. Well, I'll do it with, for, hey, do you want to walk? No, can't. But things like that. But no, I mean, sitting down and having a conversation with someone is so much more beneficial to our psychological well-being, because we are connecting with ourselves. Every single person that's in here today is part of every single other person. I remember years ago when I used to go to midnight mass, and they would say, turn to your neighbor and greet them. And at first I thought, boy, that's hokey. But I got to really enjoying it. You sit next to people in church often, and you don't know them. You kind of come in, you say hi, and then go on your way because you've got things to do. And it's kind of fun to get to know all of the people who are like-minded with you. So charity is not writing a check to the local nonprofit. It helps nonprofits, yes. If it's done with real love and a real desire to help them, not just because they sent you a card that says, it's time for your yearly donation. So everything we do has to be done with that loving kindness, thinking about the person. It's not, I noticed that I've talked to quite a few people this year, and they're making their Christmas presents. They're giving homemade items rather than going out and buying things. That's a throwback to the 60s, let me tell you, because that's what everyone did. I'm not sure why. I think because we didn't have the money to go out and just buy whatever was around. Maybe it wasn't around. I don't know. But to give a little of yourself, to go out and visit that person who lives by themselves, to give someone a ride to the store that doesn't have a car. These are things that anyone can do. It doesn't take... Martin Luther King said anyone can be of service. Absolutely anyone. You don't have to have an education. You don't have to have a job. You don't have to have money. Every single person in this world can be of service to someone. And Christmas is the time when we start thinking about relating to everyone in our, as we used to say, in our orbit. The people that you run into every day, the people that you are with. Let's see. I don't know. Swedenborg said it away. He was a Swedish educator. And he said, true charity is the desire to be useful to others with no thought of recompense. This is why we volunteer. Why people volunteer to go down and serve Christmas dinner at the mission. Why they volunteer for hospice. Why they volunteer for being useful. And it doesn't even take all that much time. If we look at how we spend our entire day, how much time do we think about what we're going to be doing instead of doing it? And yes, you need to take time for yourself. You need to take a nap once in a while because it's frantic at this time of year. And you do get tired. That's part of taking care of yourself so that you can be useful to others. We're not saying people have to, run around till they drop in their tracks. It should be a joyous occasion where you are enjoying everything you're doing with and for people. But you're not really doing it for them. Because charity should never make the receiver feel beholden or humiliated, because you are not giving to them. You're giving to the God within them. And so the gift is made to God, not to the person, not to a person or an institution. You give these gifts freely to God. Now, God may be manifest in your next door neighbor or the people down the street or the helping serve dinner at the mission. That may be the manifestation of God that you're giving it to. But you're not giving to those people in need. I think everyone here in Santa Barbara pretty much realized that in 2018. You just simply, out of love and charity, gave of yourself, of your things, everything. Buddhananda, who was Latu Maharaj in Ramakrishna's initial monks, Latu was uneducated. He was a servant. He came to Ramakrishna as I think a 12-year-old boy. Couldn't read. Absolutely no education. He grew to be a spiritual giant. Never gave lectures, never did anything. And I remember reading in one of the books about him, his brother monks who were extremely well educated in India. Most of them had gone to college, most of them had degrees, very articulate, Swami Vivekananda being one, Swami Brahmananda, who was also extremely well educated. They heard him Latu was giving a class on the Gita. And they were going, oh my God, what is he saying? So they listened in one day. And they walked away saying, he understood it all. He's giving a better explanation than even we can give. He understood Ramakrishna and is giving the essence of the teachings. So he said, according to him, charity, they were talking about charity and duty. Duty is, according to some, simply doing what comes along with love in your heart. That is duty. They also, in the Ramayana, one of the translations says that dharma and duty, with love in your heart, doing what comes up. So Adbhutananda said, that which makes us forget our own self and our own life is true love and beyond duty. Rather, it is the fulfillment of the highest duty and must therefore bring freedom. Isn't freedom what all of us want? Don't we want to be free from all of the little irritations of daily life? To be free, really free, where you don't feel, I have to do this, I have to do that. Oh my God, they're coming, I have this obligation. I don't have time. I just don't have time. We work ourselves into that situation, particularly at the holiday time, because we have many, many visitors. We have many things that we do feel we have to do. But the anxieties are only of our own making. There's enough time for everything in this world if we don't worry about it. I know that sounds silly, but we create our own anxiety by feeding this fire like, I've got to do this, and then I've got to do that, and then I've got to do this. Well, if we just took it as it came during the day. We have a lot of unexpected visitors drop by the temple, and it's wonderful. And sometimes we can sit down with them, sometimes we can't. But it's not something to be anxious about. Your friends will all understand if you have, if they drop in on you without prior warning, that maybe you won't be there. Maybe you will. Maybe you'll get to see each other. I know I just had a college friend call out of the blue the other day, and it was right in the midst of this huge thing, and I said, I can't talk to you right this minute, I'll call you back. And she said, oh, okay, but don't call me. I'm going to call about 5 other people, so don't call me right away. All of these things can be worked out without putting pressure on yourself. And particularly at this time of year, I think we have to remember that. We have to remember, we have to have, as I say, the faith that God is in charge. We're not. The hope that everything goes smoothly, and if it doesn't, it's not the end of the world. It really isn't. We can hope it goes smoothly, and we can do everything we can everything possible to help it go smoothly, and then let go of it, and then just enjoy everyone and everything that comes along with love in our heart. With people who drop in, with things that happen, oh my God, the car won't start. What are we going to do? It's the weekend. AAA is busy. Nothing is the end of the world. Oh dear, the electricity just went out. Someone ran into a power pole. Well, I guess we won't be doing too much decorating then, or it won't be lit right now. None of these things in the overall picture are huge catastrophes. But we can make ourselves very uncomfortable by worrying about them and thinking that we actually are in control, which we aren't. As I say, when I quoted Byron Katie, and she said, life is simple. It happens. And it's how we accept it that makes the difference. Things are going to happen, and we can like it or not. It's just easier if we don't fight it. I carry a key fob for my car key that says, do what you like. I thought that sounded great. I can do whatever I like. The other side says, like what you do. So that makes doing so much simpler. Think about the things you really hate doing. And you put them off and you worry about them and you make excuses and they hang over your head. And you go, I've still got to do that. Now, if you just did it, simply do it because it's there, then you wouldn't have all of that worry. It wouldn't take that much time. It would be done. Christmas, though, is the time of year when we should be, not really, I don't want to say should be. Christmas is a time of joy. It's a time of celebration. It's a time when we get to see people we don't see the rest of the year. It's a time when we can make time for everyone in our lives. It's a time of year when we walk down the street and the decorations make you smile. People singing on the street corners, the carols. I find all of that just delightful. I like the festivity of Christmas. I think it makes your heart kind of bubble with joy. Doesn't mean you have to buy presents, but people enjoying themselves, getting out and singing, like the choir. Some of you were here before the lecture. The choir practicing. All those Christmas carols bring up such happiness in people's hearts. And even if we can't sing, we'll sing along. We may not be in the choir, but we'll be singing. It's a time to be happy and to enjoy our families, and to maybe include an extra person in your family, someone who doesn't have family that you know. I mean, doesn't 1, 2 more people? What difference does it make? As someone told me when I inherited 1 dog, that's nice. And then the person who had been burned out said, could you take this other dog? And 2 of my sister nuns here said, what's 2 dogs? How much more work is that than 1? I mean, if you've got 1 dog, you've got to go out for a walk. 2 dogs are no problem. And I agreed with them, sort of, under duress. And when the 3rd dog came, and they said, once you've got 2, what's 3? And I'm going, a lot more work. But it wasn't. It was a lot more pleasure. Yeah, we got out. I was walking slow dogs and fast dogs and up and down. But it was pleasure, because I loved them I loved them right away. They were sweet, and they needed a home. And how can you not love a dog? You know, they sit there and look at you and know you're going to take care of them, and what? So all of these things, all of our anxieties and lack of, or feelings of pressure, are self-imposed at the holidays. So what if you don't get the cookies baked? So what if dinner's late when everyone comes? No one's going to suddenly go up there and go, you have not done this on time. What are we doing? I have to go somewhere. They're not going to do that to you. They're all going to sit around and enjoy having them being together. And which is what we can do at this holiday time, and which I hope all of you will come Christmas Eve. We have a short program. Pravrajika, about 40 minutes?
Something like that, 40, 45.
Yeah, 40, 45 minutes. So if you come at Vespers, which is 6, actually the whole thing's over at 7. And if you don't live very far away, you can have your Christmas dinner with your family. You will have sung Christmas songs together and said Merry Christmas to everyone here. And just to get together with all of the people that you see Sundays. And it's a time when we can all enjoy each other's company. So I do hope that you will come. Oh my goodness, oh yes I do. I had, just 1 minute, I have one more quote. That it was the ending of it. You know I'm bad on endings. Well, once again, we're going to be not good on the ending. This is Ramakrishnananda. And this is, you can substitute the word charity. He said love. He said no love is real love that knows its opposite, hate. True love is always inclusive and universal. So long as a man has an enemy, he cannot know what real love is. That is why Christ tells us, if someone strikes on one cheek, we should turn to him. I think the mic just went out. We should turn to him the other cheek. If he takes our cloak, we should give him our coat also. I think we might be having a power problem. Until we are willing to do this, we cannot feel true love. Real love embraces all, which is why St. Paul said, and I think we might be having a rainstorm. Of faith, hope, and charity, the greatest is charity. Substitute the word love. The Dalai Lama also, everyone agrees with this. Love is what unites us all and makes us part of the universal one.